What's everyone? What's up, everyone? So before we get into the show, little sad news to report. Original Green Ranger, Jason David Frank has passed away. Look, this show is going to be fun. This show is going to be us talking about what made us collectors. But to not acknowledge this and to avoid this would be a great disservice to him. Look, mental health is it's something else. It really is. We don't take enough care of it. We take care of our hearts, lungs, our muscles, our bones, our joints, everything, but we always tend to ignore our mental health. And sometimes when we are reaching out, we don't know how to reach out. So, look, before we start the show, I will say, if you know anyone here at the Toy Kind of Mood, and you are having any type of issues, by all means, reach out to us. We love everyone. We're going to be talking about how much we love each other, and there's going to be like a giant hug fest in a second. It is something that we do want you to open up about and talk if you are having issues. And if you can't talk to us, if you can't get a hold of us, please contact the suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255. And now on with the show.
Are you in a toy kind of mood? You better be, because this is the new show from GodHatesGeeks.com. I'm Travis Moody, and I'm here with my man from New Bedford, Massachusetts, New Beige guy, not too far from Boston, my man Ronnie. What's up?
And welcome to A Toy Kind of Mood. I'm your co-host, Bobby Bear. And welcome to episode 25 of A Toy Kind of Mood.
Yo, Joe, it's another show for A Toy Kind of Mood, and we present Welcome to the Terradrome for
episode 50.
No shit. And welcome to episode 50.
Mm-hmm.
And welcome to a very special Toy Kind of Mood at San Diego Comic-Con. It's Bobby, it's K-Wish, and we are here with the Marvel Legends crew themselves, Dan and Ryan. Guys, how are y'all?
Hey guys, we're back. It's a Toy Kind of Mood, and you might recognize some of these faces.
Maybe.
Give us 1 second, because these talkovers are... It's Comic-Con, yeah! All right, Travis Moody here with...
Lenny Panzica.
And Emily Bader.
But we got some special guests here. Of course, I'm Travis Moody, your host. The best in the world. Just kidding, I'm all right.
Oh my God, that intro.
That was I'm really proud of that intro. All right, so episode 100, part 2. I'm your co-host, Bobby Bear. With me, you can find him on YouTube at Doom58, the original co-host to A Toy Kind of Mood. Ronny, what's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Man, you almost brought tears to my eyes looking at me. I look like a young Spriggan back then, even though it was only 2 years ago.
My
God, good
and
to
of
be
course, my co-host today, you can find him on Instagram at The Black Genghis with his amazing photography and really effing good recipes for toy kit bashing. KJ, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Bobby? And that was an awesome intro. Thank you very much. That was great going back down memory lane and hanging out with the toy crew that got me through lockdown and beyond. But I also want to give another shout out to another crew that joined us for this very special occasion, and just really glad having them here. We have straight from ACBA, we have Fabio. You know him as Fabster360 on YouTube. Fabio, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up? It's good to be back with the ATKM FAM. What kind of mood fam?
And also joining you, one of my favorites from the ACBA squad, and well-respected figure in the toy community. We have Pancho himself, Pancheezy. What's going on, dude?
I think you're muted, Punch.
I am muted. There. My bad. How are you? I said whoa when you were giving me flowers too. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, man. You got the Toy Kings here, man, and it's a very very special occasion. Bobby, if I may, I put together something for Jason David Frank. I'm a humongous Power Ranger fan, and when I found out the news, it crushed me like a ton of bricks. I got love for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I got love for Jason David Frank. He's been part of the legacy and the brand since its inception. His appearance in the original Green Ranger saga really took Power Rangers to a whole new level here stateside. And we're going to miss this guy. I think what we try to do at Toy Kind of Mood is we try to be very honest about how we feel about the worlds we love, the brands, the stories, the universes. So waking up this morning to the news, it was heartbreaking. And we put together something for you guys just to commemorate what he and others like him mean to us. Rest in peace to Kevin Conroy, who we also lost, voice of Batman from the animated series. But these worlds, these stories, these characters, they're important to us so very much. And you never know when someone is hurting, what they're going through inside, what trauma they're carrying alone. So if you have depression in your life, or if you know someone who's depressed, who's sad, lonely, check on them, reach out to them, see how they're doing. It can make a difference. It really can. If you're hurting, please call or text the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988, formerly known as the Suicide Hotline. It's since gone on to 988. So once again, please carry that forward to people in your life. If you yourself are struggling with depression, ideation, bad thoughts, you're not alone. We're here for you. We love you. We care about you. So please call 988 and please seek help. It's very important, and we all need help sometimes. Thank you all very much. And now on with the show.
That was great. That was really good, dude.
Well
All right. So now, piggybacking off of the fact that the Power Rangers was one of those figures, dude. Everyone had to have it. So we're gonna go into. That's how ESPN has to do it too. All right. So the toy. We are all here because plastic controls our life. Whether it's a credit card, which weeps at times, or the fact that we just love these little bad boys. Look at this. I got this. I got this. All right. So the toys that influence us. I have one of them right behind us. Or behind me. The amount of figures I had of He-Man and Master of the Universe is astonishing. I was not one of the G.I. Joe guys. I really wasn't. I got into G.I. Joe Classifieds because of this group chat. I'm gonna go with Ronnie. I'm gonna jump to you, man, because I've got my top 5. I'm gonna let everyone else do theirs. Like what everyone else influenced them. Ronnie, you go first, buddy.
So, what toys influenced me as a kid? Well, growing up, I mean, I was born in the early '80s, but I consider my toy exploration, my growth was really in the late '80s, early '90s. So I grew up with Transformers, G.I. Joes, Ninja Turtles, etc. But we were a family that we were living by our means. We weren't the wealthiest of families, and my mother and grandparents would go without to get me what they could. So growing up, to me, I never had the big G.I. Joe aircraft carrier or any of those giant vehicles, but I had some G.I. Joe figures. For me, if I had to name the number one franchise for me for toys, honestly, Ninja Turtles would be my number one. And I'm going from 1 to 5. I'm starting hot, and they're all hot. It's very hard to narrow down to 5 brands or 5 influences, really, as a child of that genre when you had your toy stores, bargain bins, and they were a year past everybody else, but you would be able to afford them so much better. So Ninja Turtles. I remember as a kid having the all the Ninja Turtle figures. You know, I never had the van or any of the vehicles. I did get one vehicle at a yard sale, and those are always the ones to me that meant the most. You know, because I found them. It was like almost like like Christmas in the fall or the spring when people were clearing out their clutter. I would go to a yard sale with my mom, or my grandfather would come home, and I remember the Ninja Turtle pizza. It was like a pizza tank, and it would shoot pizzas.
Oh yeah.
You guys kind of remember that? It was like green and orange, all the funky, turtles, and you would have one turtle in the gunner seat, and then the two would have the little foot pegs, so you can hand them on the sides, hanging off. You know, that to me was awesome. I remember the obscurity that they started going into in Ninja Turtles when they started doing the Transformer style from turtle, actual baby turtle. The shells would open up.
Ones.
Yeah, you would have it would be like baby turtles, and the shell would open up. You tuck all the legs in, and then the head would pop out, and bing bang, secret of the ooze. You have yourself a real Ninja Turtle.
Yep.
Second brand for me, I'm gonna go for what I didn't have much of because it was not in my wheelhouse, but I wanted them because all my friends had them and whatnots. Was Transformers, and I've said it time again on the show. Now as an adult, especially with the War for Cybertron and the 86 line, I've been buying up like crazy. And special thanks to Hasbro because they've sent us promo boxes in the past. Feel free and check out in a toy kind of mood our unboxings. I mean, we've been blessed with Transformers. Hasbro showing us love. You all know I'm one to get on my soapbox and rant about companies that I'm not too pleased with what they're doing, but Hasbro has been very nice to us in the past. So I was able to acquire some Transformers that I never had. And that just started the fire under me. I mean, they know what they do. They give you a little taste, and then you start buying them on your own. So Transformers, of course, is my number 2.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3. It was 1 was Ninja Turtles, 2 is Transformers, 3 is G.I. Joe.
Okay,
that would be 3. 3 for me. I remember having this tank. Again, it was the only vehicle I had. I used to get the action figures. I know we're going to go into stores later, but for me, it was my local KB Toy Works. They used to always have a bargain bin. You know, they'd come out, they'd over surplus for the holidays of all the action figures. And for some reason, G.I. Joe always seemed to go on clearance in spring. So I remember they were like $1.98, something like that. Mind you, the figures were like $4 or $5 then, but back in the 80s, that was more than minimum wage an hour. If you think about it, I think minimum wage was like $4.75 or something when I was a kid. When I had my first paper route, I was making that. And I used to get in, the G.I. Joe figures. I remember having Snake Eyes. You know, I really tend to like the Cobra, like troopers and the Cobra styling with the neat. You know, when you had Serpentor, you had the neon green body with the orange armor and all that stuff. And
yeah.
You know, all of the bad guys tend to look cooler, in my opinion, than the good guys. They had the vibrant colors. You know, I remember them having, I don't remember what the brand was because I was a kid. Like the off like not branding, but offline of the G.I. Joe, but they were like toxic. I remember it being like toxic waste.
There's toxic waste.
And it was kind of like going on the Toxic Avengers trends and then the Ninja Turtle ooze trend. I remember G.I. Joe did a similar thing where you would have like toxic troopers and they were like neon green and different colors, and some of the vehicles had like ooze compartments. You could drop it out the back. It was supposed to be like toxic waste. I think it was like bright yellow because it couldn't go green because of Ninja Turtles or whatever.
Yep, and purple was actually green was Ninja Turtles. Purple was Ghostbusters.
He-Man. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
He-Man had purple and yellow. It was really weird. Yes.
Right. So that G.I. Joe would be my number 3.
Okay.
My number 4. My number 4 right now, big 4, Masters of the Universe. Going to He-Man. I had Battle Cat. Those were the ones that weren't expensive as a kid, as far as I could tell. I mean, my mother was able to get them. I had the horse. I don't remember what they were called because I was a kid, but I had the battle armored horses. I had Battle Cat. I had Panther. I had so many guys. All the armor. I used to play with them in the mud. You know, you're losing swords. You're losing this. You don't care as a kid. There was no. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, there was no collector mentality really as a kid. Well, it was crack the box and play.
No,
you know what I mean?
And real quick, Ronny, I had a sandbox that got, I had so many things get lost to the sands of time, literally.
Right.
Because of the sandbox.
Yep. My sandbox was at my grandfather's house. I had a side yard, and it was in a side front yard kind of thing. We were covered by hedges, so my mother and grandparents didn't mind me playing over there. We were in this inner city. but it was a quieter neighborhood, a lot of older people, and maybe I was like the youngest kid in the neighborhood at the time. So nobody had to worry about, you can leave your doors unlocked, that kind of shenanigans, unlike now. But I used to play in the side yard. I remember they were digging up gardens. You'd always have access dirt and, holes to play in from them moving plants around and everything. The same thing, dude. I used to put bury my stuff. And one thing that comes to mind, I think it was called the Scorpion tank. I think it was like a purple and tan tank. And it had like purple wheels and a purple gunner. And he used to drop little mines behind it. And it had 3 gunner positions. You had one gunner, one in the front, which had like a steel cage. It was like almost like an armored battering ram. And then the mines, the little plastic discs were purple, like that magenta purple that they used to go with, used to fall behind. That thing was the awesomest thing. I've actually looked online now trying to buy one, secondhand. My collecting for stuff, physical toys I had as a kid. I used to collect, nostalgia is driven. All of us came together because of toys and nostalgia. That's how, ATKM was founded. And people like in our chat and our group, some people collect the new NECA lines, Ninja Turtles. I collected them at first, but then I found a secondhand hobby shop where I started finding those old Ninja Turtles loose. You're lucky if you have the armor. Same thing with the Masters of the Universe. They're Joes because Joe, as we all know, they're fam. Joes are hot. Their secondhand Joes are not cheap. So I have. Oh yeah, see, yeah. If I would have thought about it, I totally wasn't thinking about it. I have a Splinter original, which I got from there for like $5. I got Leonardo with all his weapons for like $12 loose, but all the weapons. And I got Donatello, same thing, all the gear. I think I paid $10. Has his nunchucks, the fake pizza he used to come with. So, those I tend to go with rather than paying $50, $60 for a NECA one that you can't even play with. If you drop it, the joints pop. And I go back and I kind of, and I got the Rat King too. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid and as an adult, especially now, reflecting on what I liked Cobra. Star Wars figures. Star Wars was just before my time. I was probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 years old, 5 or 6. Honestly, I remember vaguely at that age. I remember 6 years old as far as I can go back. And I'm 42 now, guys. Bing, bing, bing. Surprise. But I can remember at 6 years old having the X-Wing with the thinking R2 was the awesomest thing because when you push them down, the wings would expand, they'd go into X-foil mode, the lights would sound, and I had those when I was younger, but those aren't the things really that influenced me as remembering, like I said, in the late 80s, early 90s.
So that's number 5.
That was 4.
Right.
And I'm gonna kick it out for 5. Because 4 was Masters of the Universe. I'm gonna go out there, and it's something I remember having a lot of fun with, and it's right up my age bracket. And I don't know if you guys, even any of you had these or know anybody that has the Karate Kid toy line with the kicking ass dojo.
That's your number 5?
That's my number 5 for me. And the reason is
no judgment on this show. Usually,
your surprise is no Star Wars, right? Everybody out there, I am the legitimate A Toy Kind of Mood fam, Star Wars aficionado. Everybody that knows me knows it, right?
The power of the Force, or
right,
something like that.
Right. Everybody knows me as but to be honest, I didn't have Star Wars. I had some Star Wars figures when I was really little.
Yeah.
But this is about what influenced me.
No, that's fine.
All the Star Wars stuff was already secondhand, and it was already expensive when I was a kid. The shit that I had, like I said, when I was like 5, 6 years old, I played with, busted. There was no collectibles. It was you take the X-foil and you smash it into something else. That's what you did at that age. So as an adult, I realized, well, that was a $1,400 toy that I took and I rammed into the toilet.
I mean, yeah.
You don't even play with them, man. That's what they're meant to be, especially as we were kids.
That's
so my number 5 is the Karate Kid action figures and the dojo, because I had that shit. And I remember, man, I remember playing that with those toys, and you had the little fake. It was the I think it was Karate Kid 2 or 3. We actually went to Japan. I think it was 2.
That was 2.
That's 2.
And it was a replica of the dojo in Japan, where I remember having these tiny little windows made of wood, but the plastic was like push paper. It was like paper. If you got it wet, forget about it. Whole thing is destroyed. But you would kick the foot through, you'd kick a log, the ceiling would fall in on one side. I mean, as a kid of the 80s, when we didn't have these high-tech automatic transforming mega, you press a button, everything's remote control. Your app operated things, and nowadays having something that you kicked out and shit happened and reactive toys were huge because you didn't have electronic interfaces like you have now and alternate, augmented AR and all that. You know what I mean? So that's my 5. I mean, like I said, I was gonna hit you off with something obscure for number 5.
No, that like Vlad put it, like look at my face. I mean, I was not expecting that. Pancho, you know what? You're the guest of the show. Let's go with you next, man. What were your toys that influenced you as a kid?
Much like you, I didn't really have a lot growing up either. So like a lot of my toy journey happened when I was an adult, going back and getting stuff that, well, not getting stuff, but like getting the new versions of stuff that I really wanted when I was a kid. But I did have a few figures and stuff growing up. I had like weird Legos, and then I had some other weird stuff. But I would say the thing that most influenced me, I don't know if I have 5, but I have a couple. Of course, like the Ninja Turtle figures were really influential. I find myself picking up Ninja Turtle figures now that remind me of like the old like 4-inch Ninja Turtle line, the one that came out I think at the same time or before the show. So whenever NECA does re-releases of those, or even the Super 7 stuff catches my eye a lot of the times. But I always find myself picking up Ninja Turtle stuff, even though I don't have a proper Ninja Turtles display. And my wife is always like, "Why are you getting this?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. It's fine. Don't worry about it." But so Ninja Turtles was one. Transformers also kind of ties in tandem with Ninja Turtles being the same, as I don't have a dedicated display for Transformer stuff. But when I was a kid, I was super into like Beast Wars, like the show. And I remember I didn't have
Beast Wars.
Yeah, Beast Wars rules. But I didn't have a lot of Transformers. Maybe I had maybe 2 or 3 Transformers figures. But I remember when I was a kid, I entered a drawing contest for I don't remember. Maybe it was like a Caldor or something. And the prize was like $20, like $20 gift certificate. And then I bought 4 Transformers figures. And those were my Beast Wars Transformers figures for my entire childhood.
$20, that's like 80 with inflation today.
Right? Just like you guys were saying, $5 per figure back then seems like nothing now. But before then, it was enough for my parents to say no every single time I went to anywhere. So yeah, Turtles and Transformers for sure. I would say it's not really figures, but I basically, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of any opportunities to buy stuff. I spent a lot on video games, and that influences me a lot now when video game figures come out. So back then, I did have opportunities to buy those really old janky Mega Man model kits. And I remember I used to go, when I lived in the Philippines, I used to go to the malls and stuff, and there would be import stores with all these model kits for Mega Man figures, all these super weird and out of control designs that never made it into the video games. But I would buy those were super cool. And then now that ties in with how I pick up, now there's new model kits for Mega Man. Kotobukiya makes model kits for Mega Man now, and they're incredible. They're the best model kits I've probably ever bought, and they're continuing that legacy of doing crazy different types of armor. They're from video games, but it's stuff that we never got when D-Arts was making Mega Man figures, which I have I have a complete collection of the D-Arts Mega Man figures. And that ties into a lot of stuff me doing video games. So if there's a video game line that I played when I was a child, chances are I'll get it. That's Mortal Kombat and I don't know. I'm blanking right now, but there's tons of video game stuff that I collect. But the most influential thing probably, before I get to that, it's one of them is Pokemon. I used to play Pokemon all the time when I was a kid. I remember playing. I got Blue first, and I played that a lot. And then every time I would have an opportunity to get weird Pokemon merch, I would always get it. I remember I got the hat for my birthday, and I wore that hat every single day. I was completely out of control. wearing that hat.
Hey, Pancho, you sent me a picture. You don't mind? I'm gonna show it off real quick.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would wear this ridiculous hat. And I would dress up like the character every single day with absolutely no shame or no like, no like, I don't know, no regard for how I looked with the rest of my family, if it was embarrassing or not, whatever. I didn't care. But
Love it. That's awesome.
I would buy like little Pokemon toys and figures and stuff. And then now I buy like all the SHF stuff and then the Figma stuff. And then Jazzwares is doing Pokemon figures now, so I'm always looking for those. But the most influential toy line I've ever collected is actually, I meant to send you this photo a while ago. Sorry, but I'll get it right now. Is the Super Battle Collection figures for Dragon Ball Z. They're like a vintage line of figures that came out during the time that the show was coming out in Japan, but these things were bootlegged like there was no tomorrow, dude. Like every single bootleg market you could think of, like Chinatown. If you went like south of the border, there were like Mexican bootlegs of those too. But I remember the first Dragon Ball figure, I just sent it to you, Kev. The first Dragon Ball figure I ever got was the Super Saiyan Goku from Super Battle Collection, where you could like pop his shirt off. And like, I remember I got that figure before like I had like caught up to the show where he turned Super Saiyan. So like I was watching very early. I was even watching early Dragon Ball when he's still like a kid. And I remember I kept on like asking my cousin, because he was the one that would show me all this stuff. I'd be all like, when's this guy's hair gonna turn yellow, dude? Like, I'm tired of waiting. I've had this toy.
Tired of waiting.
Like, I just want to know. So that would definitely be the most influential toy line for me, because the main toy line I collect now is Dragon Ball SHF, and I have a complete collection of that. And like I keep current with every new release. And I was lucky enough to jump on this line when it a couple of years after it started. So this is one of like the more difficult lines to 100%, just because the older figures are so expensive now. But I was lucky enough to get on it when it first started. So yeah, that's it. My most influential toy line was because of Super Battle Collection. And I try and go back every once in a while to get the old Super Battle Collection figures. But once I got this one, I was like, all right, cool. I'm good. Like
everyone's got that one figure. Fabster, what about you? What's your top 5?
I didn't even realize we were doing like an itemized list or anything. So I'm gonna come up with them on the fly here. I've been trying to come up with them. So obviously there's a bit of a generational gap here. Pancho and I are both 90s kids, right? So you know, we tend to skew on that. So I did still have like Motu and Turtles, but the 03 2000X stuff, you know? So I remember watching those. They were on like Cartoon Network at the time. I remember watching them, but I never really got into like the toys for those. I think at the time, I mean, if we're even going back beyond that, before I moved from Venezuela to Texas, it would have been 99 was when we moved to Texas. So from, you know, first 6 years still growing up in Venezuela, I remember going to like my mom had her friend who also had a kid that was like a couple years older than me. So she would go to hang out with her friend, and then I would get, you know, stuck with the older boy and hang out in his room and stuff. And he had hella Beast Wars figures. And I had like a couple at the time, but I would go over to like his house to like play Beast Wars and like watch Beast Wars VHS. So that was one of like the earliest lines that I remember really being around. And even when I was like a little bit older, but going back to visit Venezuela, I must have been like 10 years old or something.
Yeah.
The like street market, like outside my grandma's house, would have the Super Battle Collection bootlegs. So I actually was picking up a few of those. I remember having the Teen Gohan or something at the time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And specifically just the shirt coming apart action was like the coolest thing ever.
Yes.
I didn't get too much into like Dragon Ball after that, though, you know, or some might say that I am more into Dragon Ball than even Pancho here.
That's
But-
true. Where the keys over here.
So I think my real, like, the stuff that I remember actively trying to get, especially in the 90s, was the Toy Biz X-Men stuff. You know, I was a big fan of X-Men, the animated series, and I remember specifically having that Wolverine with his with the claws that come in and out, and he still had like the ugly. They weren't even like a C grip; it was a straight up like O grip, like that was closed off, and then he had the giant clunky claws and everything. I remember having quite a few of those X-Men figures and the Spider-Man animated series figures too that came with like the pins and stuff. And yeah, one of my other earliest memories, I've talked about it before on other streams, is being in the airport in Venezuela for whatever reason, and I had the armored Spider-Man from the animated series from that original line, and I remember just walking around with it in my hand, and then clumsy child me like tripped, and then it like flew out of my hand and slid across the dirty airport floor and fell between the cracks of the escalator into the parking garage below. And I literally remember like peering over the side and being like, yeah, that's gone forever.
That's like a tragic movie moment right there. You can fake that shit.
Honestly, you guys are lucky you didn't turn me into a villain.
Yeah, that could have been your villain moment.
That could have been it right there. And
I remember the Wolverine, how I had the closed grip. I remember as a kid taking a steak knife because I was so pissed because I wanted to hold just sawing at it until I finally got it open. Like I had to cut through the plastic.
What is wrong with you, Ronnie?
I wanted it to hold stuff.
So then once we moved from Venezuela and we were living in Texas, my uncle was living with us, and every like Friday, like he would pick me up from school. My mom was like working full time and everything, so he was kind of taking care of me. And he's also really the one that got me into collecting in general, or into the collector mentality, because he is still a big baseball card collector. So we would go to this card shop. He'd be looking for like baseball cards and stuff, and they would have a lot of those old Toy Biz figures. So I remember picking quite a few of those up there. But what really got me into, you know, starting a collection, not just, or thinking about it in terms of a thing you complete, was when the first X-Men movie came out. And every Friday after school, he would take me to the local like grocery store that had like a toy section. It's called Tom Thumb. Do they still have those, Bobby?
No, I don't think so. I think ACAB bought them all out.
Yeah. Okay. So it was the Tom Thumb grocery store. They had the toy section, and I would pick up a lot of those X-Men figures based on the movies. So that was another thing that got me into movies as well, because I got ingrained with the thought of like how on the packaging it said Halle Berry as Storm. So it ingrained early on to me like actor names and all that stuff too. So yeah, I remember having like the Wolverine. I actually still have one because I've rebought a couple of things for like the motorcycles that I have on display here. So I have one of those old like X movie 1 Wolverines, and obviously we've come a very long way since then. But I remember having the Wolverine, the Cyclops. I remember having it and like taking it to the pool with me and like going into the pool with the Cyclops and then wondering why the light up feature wasn't working anymore. I had like Rogue and a lot of all those figures. Oh, the Toad was like one of my favorites, and that's the Toad's figure specifically is one that got me into the mindset of like variants, because I remember there was the first Toad that had the long jacket with like the spring loaded legs. You know, he couldn't, he had the articulation, but it was meant so that you would crouch him down and then he would like spring back up by himself. And I remember being like, this isn't how he looks in the movie. I want the version where he has like the vest, not the full on jacket. And then that one came a little bit later down the line, but I don't think I ever got it by that point. And then it was right after that, or right around that same time, that Spider-Man Classics started hitting. So that got me into the comic books too, because they came with the comic books. And then that snowballs into Marvel Legends, which is like the thing that started me on the actual collecting journey, because I collected from series 1 of Toy Biz, Marvel Legends, into the Hasbro era before fully dropping off a couple of years ago. But my real, so that's let's say like 5 through to 2 right there.
Yeah.
In no particular order. But the number one for me growing up that I remember that has really set me on thinking back, it is kind of what set me on the path of the soft goods and the idea of getting blank bodies and then just adding soft goods and adding accessories and creating all these new like figures. You know, for someone like me who tried customizing for a few years and realized that this ain't for me. I need an easy route to do that. Number one for me, Max Steel.
Let's go.
Max Steel. I sent you the pictures over there. These were basically Barbies for boys. Okay, I'm not even gonna front. It's true.
I forgot about these. These were
was the shit. I remember still being this line. The one on the left was the first release, or you know, something like that. It's like 98. So I remember having this toy line from like 98 to about like 02 or something, and I was heavy into it. I didn't have like everything. You know, we weren't of means necessarily either. So I had a few here and there. And that's why I really liked the Max Steel line, is because I could buy one Max Steel figure and then just get the accessory packs from there and just dress them up in like different outfits and different gear and all that stuff. Yeah. So I had, you know, one or two Max Steels. I had the villain, that one there, the psycho with like the exploding head. And I remember my stepbrother who was living in Venezuela had the Bio Constrictor. So we would kind of like put together our Max Steel collections and like, you know, do dumb stuff with them or whatever. I had the bike. Yeah, the Max MX4 Rocket Cycle. That was one of my favorites. It was cool. It had like a real like carbon fiber texture to it. Like it was pretty legit. So all this stuff I think was like really, you know, these were 12-inch figures too. These are like big dudes. They are basically Barbies, you know? So it was, I don't know, just something was cool about it. I remember watching the cartoon. I think it was on Cartoon Network or something at the time. And just being like, yeah, this is super cool. And this is like peak 90s, early 2000s, like X Games, extreme sports stuff. Because his whole gimmick is that he just does, he's like a super agent, like a secret agent or whatever. But he like does, all his gadgets are like extreme sports gear.
He's triple X.
It's bikes, it's motorcycles. His best friend is Jeremy McGrath, the motocross guy. Like, really? The most 90s shit ever.
I love McGrath. He was great.
Dude, Jeremy McGrath was the shit. So yeah, that's where I think the generational gap is truly coming in, because that was what I remember fondly having that toy line a lot. I don't even know what the hell I did with them. There was definitely a point where I was just like, no, I'm too old for toys. And then I got rid of a bunch of stuff. And I regret doing that specifically with some like Legos that I had like handed down to me. It was like the original pirate set and the original knight set and all that stuff. Man, that shit is worth money now.
I can picture you with those action figures right there being like, I'm over this. Let's do something extreme, and just strapping M80s to them and throwing them up and blowing them to hell. That's extreme.
They're pretty right for that. I mean, they're a lot like the old school GI Joes, like the 60s GI Joes, you know, the Max Steel. So it is it's that, but just with an extreme sports 90s, early 2000s twist.
Oh, God.
Remember when he said going turbo? I felt that.
Before we get to KJ, we do have a special guest of the show at Steven MC. What's up, Steven?
Hey, guys.
Kevin
So
Wish.
we're going back.
Sorry, I'm a little late. I'm not a morning person, and it is 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday in Los Angeles. So
it's okay. I woke up 20 minutes before we went live.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Steven, we're doing the top 5 shows that top 5 action figures that influenced us. I already know your 2, but what are I know your top 2.
My top 2 has always been He-Man and Transformers.
Yep.
When I say He-Man, I mean He-Man and She-Ra. I basically I consider them one and the same. A lot of people do not. But they are a spinoff of, you know, She-Ra's a spinoff of He-Man. So when I say He-Man, I mean He-Man and She-Ra, and then Transformers. My other 3, that's actually easy to do. In order, it would go Transformers, He-Man, She-Ra. Probably I would say G.I. Joe is next, and then Thundercats, and finally Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Those are my top 5 from the 80s.
Controversial.
Yeah. Yep, I had the most of that stuff. I used to like Star Wars until Lucas went and sold out to Disney, and then I was like, you know, I'm done. Bye-bye.
Your wallet probably thanks you for that.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I loved them. I had a lot of the stuff. I had the old AT-AT, I had the old Millennium Falcon, I had a lot of the first, you know, couple waves of figures. I had the, you know, the Jabba and his Deus, and I had the Max Rebo thing. I had the Ewok playset, or was it called the Endor playset or the Ewok playset, whatever the hell that was?
Yeah, the Ewok Village.
I had the Ewok Village. Yeah, no, I liked my Star Wars stuff, but then I was just like, it fell out of favor with me.
I agree with you on that actually, because my first Star Wars was Phantom Menace, so I had those Phantom Menace toys, but
Yeah.
I didn't really keep up too much with Star Wars collecting after that.
It's tough.
I don't think I even had any Attack of the Clones figures, but at that point I had gotten into Legos, so I was really into the Star Wars Legos.
Yeah, I did collect Legos too when I was a kid, but that's not where my heart's at.
As an adult, I collect more Legos now than when I did when I was a kid. But Steven, you would have been my best friend in the neighborhood. I would have been over your house all the time playing with your play sets, because I had like cardboard boxes and Sharpie markered play sets for Star Wars and knockoff stuff.
Well,
I would have been over there, buddy.
I'll make you feel a little bit better. Me and my buddies, we used to make like little cardboard dioramas when we played GI Joes in the backyard.
That's awesome.
Because there's a limit to how many play sets they even had. I had that mobile command center play set, and then I had some odd play sets for like Cobra. I never had the Terrordrome. My buddy had that when I was a little kid, and I collected late, and my mom tried to buy that from my buddies to his mother. She's like, I will give you $100 if you let Andrew sell his. And then she went and she's like, Andrew, would you take $100 for your Terrordrome? He's like, no, Steven's not having it. And I'm like,
bastard.
Yeah, and because like a 10-year-old kid, they don't know what the fuck $100 is.
Right. Yeah, you missed that. That's exactly what I went into with my toys. I was playing with stuff that now is like $3,000-$4,000, and I was just like rolling it in the muds, taking my things, smashing them into the back of the toilets. I didn't care.
Yeah. Some spoiled brats got Eternia too when they were little kids. I wasn't able to get that.
Yeah.
How's that look mine? I'm just saying, it's pretty fucking awesome. AJ.
Okay. I will just say that it's not that my parents couldn't afford to buy me Eternia. I think when that came out, that was the tail end. I think that was 88, Robert, when that came out.
Yeah.
Damn, you got your Mattel creations already, Bobby?
Early bird special, baby.
Yeah, that's the OG. I did buy the Mattel creations because I'm not going to make that same mistake twice.
Okay. And you got the Snake Mountain, Super 7 Snake Mountain, right?
KJ, I have everything.
So your apartment is Eternia, dude.
Yeah.
It is. Their apartment is literally Eternia.
And Travis is Skeletor.
And you're She-Ra?
Whatever. You can fill in the blanks. I'll be the sorceress. I'll be She-Ra. I don't give a shit. You know what's funny is that Skeletor and She-Ra are my two favorite characters, and I've met them both 5 times.
Nice.
Oppenheimer is amazing.
If I can throw in something real quick too, I remember also having those Batman Forever figures.
Oh yeah,
okay.
That was a crazy line. When super jacked up, they were almost like the Power of the Force figure style.
Yeah,
yeah. Is that the one where they made the Star Wars dudes all jacked up?
Yeah,
was it Power of the Force?
Wait, what was
Mark Hamill joked? Mark Hamill joked that it looked like Luke was on steroids.
Yeah, that line.
Those were terrible. But what original line are you talking about, Fab?
Batman Forever, like the movie line.
Yeah, those were a little bit bigger though. Those weren't in scale with the star. They weren't 3 3/4. They were, I think, they were.
Yeah, they're like 4 or 5 inches or something.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you have them all?
No, I had Robin and a few others. I just very much like I watched Ethan Page's toy hunts. I'm sure you're a fan of Steve.
Yes.
But I remember he's trying to complete that whole Batman Forever line, and he even shot a vintage style commercial for it when he did it, when he unboxed them.
Yes.
And it reminded me I had a ton of those.
Yeah,
I remember that Wayne Manor playset for that movie line was pretty cool though.
It was cool. All right, KJ, you're 5, dude, and I'll do my final 5. But what's your?
All right. I will try to make this as quick as possible. I have a bit of a visual component, but I'll be very quick. So here, Transformers.
Let's go.
Definitely in the top 5. No particular order, but Transformers was there from the jump. I was a broke kid, big family, so it was about feeding everybody, clothing everybody, and then that was it. I had to grind for mine, so raking leaves, mowing lawns. And it's funny, by the time that I had Ultra Magnus and I had this pamphlet, and I would just basically pretend to have everything else. So I would just look at the toys and be like, man, that would be cool, right? And it's funny, by the time I saved up enough money to buy more Transformers, I had enough for a Game Boy. So I just bought a Game Boy instead. But Galvatron,
I had that.
My favorite Transformer, this dude went against everybody. He went up everyone I had. Now I'm probably going to go through in this list. But I have the Kingdom Galvatron, the Toy Colors. I have the Tron Legacy Galvatron, the Behold Galvatron. I got all of them. And I could not part with any of them. So I was like, yeah. I was like, so Galvatron was definitely one of my favorites. I just love how crazy. I love the samurai head crown and everything else. The proton cannon. Like, it was great. But moving on, Mask, part of the theme song you heard, Bobby's fantastic intro. Robot Chicken has one of the all-time great spoofs of Mask, but I had the Switchblade. And see, that's the thing. I had collections, but they were very partial. They were just really key selections, and that was it. So my toy world was basically all melded into one. That figure, I don't have the figure. I just put like G.I. Joes in the Switchblade. But I used to love this thing. But Captain Power, still one of my favorites. Like, I still listen to the soundtrack to this day. Like, I got the soundtrack when it came out on CD and downloaded it. And like literally, like probably like a couple of days ago, I was probably listening to the soundtrack still. It was ahead of its time. Not really for kids, man, but it didn't talk down to kids. It was like aged up kind of the same way Star Trek The Next Generation was. And it was very interactive where you could shoot back at the screen. The screen would shoot back at you. Your figures would pop out. Like me and my brother would be shooting jets at each other, me and my dad, that kind of thing.
I forgot all. You are just killing me right now because I had that as a kid too, and I forgot all about it, man.
Loved it. The Energizer, the suits, the figures. I mean, it just really energized things. It was dark. It was dystopian. It's like we're the last human fighting force left. When they would digitize people, it hurt. It's like, no, this dude's dead. You know, it's like we have to fight to save humanity. It didn't pull any punches. And I was thankful for that because as a kid, I was watching stuff like this stuff I shouldn't have been watching. The Fly, Aliens, Predator. Like, I was a horror kid, basically. And Captain Power was like, okay, we see you, you know? And even though it looked goofy, the name was silly. Toy Galaxy, which is now a Secret Galaxy, has like a great with Captain Power. Too silly for adults, too adult for the kids. It didn't last long. To this day, I have not watched the final episode because I kind of just want to keep the series alive for me. So I've yet to watch the final episode. But just going back to my childhood homes, of course, the Turtles. I do not collect the Turtles now because it'd just be way too expensive. Super 7, NECA. I have some of the movie Turtles, but I just have to keep, the stuff near and dear to my heart for right now. So it hurt not collecting Ninja Turtles, but man, I really wanted to. That Super 7 Shredder Ultimates is like $27 on Entertainment Earth. I'm like, if I get this, I'm going to get everything else. And I can't get it right now.
It's $27, get it.
But the Power Rangers, man, like I said, I mowed those lawns, straight lines in the field. That was me, man, raking the leaves. I had to get each and every single Power Ranger was like Legend of Zelda getting a shard of crystal or getting a power soul. Like, I got it. I finally got the White Ranger, like that kind of thing.
Yes.
And once again, rest in peace, Jason David Frank. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers really brought Super Sentai stateside. You can watch all sorts of different articles and documentaries on it on YouTube. But the Mighty Morphin brand really lasted a long time. It combined several series, even after the Dinozords, the Ninja Zords, the Thunder Zords, Sabertooth, Tiger, Griffin, Thunderzord power. Like, it's like whatever it took, man. But we love this stuff. And
yeah, I forgot, but I also did do these. I like that. I had the flip up head ones. I don't know if I had the complete team. I for sure had the green because everybody loves the green. He's the best one.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that during mine. I would be like heavy into the Megazords, and I mentioned this on the ACBA podcast. The Astro Megazord was like the last one that I remember really being in love with, and I kept that in the box under my bed, and I would slide it out from under my bed and play with it, and then put it back in the box and slide it back under my bed.
It's like this stuff. It really fired up our imagination. It's about like fighting evil with your friends, with your community. Like I remember Voltron as a little kid. So the Megazord was like, man, that's just Voltron. I still want it. And I didn't get the Zap Megazord. I didn't get that stuff, but Like I had to be really picky with my collection back then, but I had the Thunder Zords, man. I had the movie Zords, and the movie Zords from the movie, the Ninja Zords, that was kind of like my last toy. You know, I was 13 when the movie came out, and I was playing more video games. I was just getting older, and by the time I did get the movie Zords, the Thunder Zords, like I moved away from Texas to another state, and you know, it just kind of wasn't the same. So Power Rangers was kind of the end of an era for me. But, you know, once again, rest in peace to Jason David Frank. There was a short that it came out that Joseph Kahn had directed that was sort of like an adult mature Power Rangers. And JDF, he spoke against it. He was like, no, this is still connected to the kids. Kids are still going to find this. I'm like, man, this dude still cares about this stuff, man. So I'm just going to miss that guy. And once again, love to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But of course, G.I. Joe. I'm a military kid. My dad's retired Army. My uncles were in the military. Cousins in the military. I always thought I was going to enlist in the ROTC. I just ended up not doing that. But I had the Conquest. I had a very small collection. Really, my brother had the G.I. Joes. And, you know, I inherited some of those, you know, like when he passed down into puberty and everything else, I got some of those. But, you know, I had the Night Raven. Loved the Night Raven.
Oh, I didn't have that.
Yeah, dude. And like when I saw it in Rise of Cobra, I was like, Night Raven, you know, so had to have it. Shout out to Cross Country over here. So that was
you had that too. Oh wow.
And of course, you know, like now that Classified series is out, I'm like rebuilding my Joe collection. But my all-time favorite, Arctic Stalker version 2. This was my Joe. And just as a black kid, like, you know, I had the opportunities to feel seen that maybe my older brother or even my dad may have not. So I was able to take a lot for granted. I had Roadblock, I had Winston Zedmore, I had Jordy LaForge, and I had Stalker, you know, and it was just great. I took this dude everywhere. And like when they get this, man, I'm getting like 5, like 1 to open and like 4 to keep in stock. But that were the toys that made me. And it's one of those things where like when lockdown happened, you know, I was freaking out. I thought I had COVID. It was the flu, but it just made me like reevaluate things. And so like, I'm just going to do what I wanted to do. And I hopped back in full throttle. And then I met Travis, and then I met the rest of the gang here, started watching the ACBA podcast and just being like, yeah, man, these guys, they love this stuff. You know, we still do. And it's just really touching to, you know, once again, like when things like this happen, when we lose our heroes, it hurts. We're real still connected to this, you know, and they imparted lessons to us, morality to us. David Vonner talks about how important Masters of the Universe was to him. So it's not just playtime. They're not just playthings. They're really important and of us. And I'm glad to have a community to share that with. I think that's ultimately a good. It can get messy sometimes. It can get crazy sometimes. And there are a lot of people that have work to do that have not done that work, and they bring that into the community. So we do the best we can by them. But when it's all said and done, it's all love, and it's still fun. So.
Yeah. Right. As we get older, I'm going to touch on what you said. You know, these were childhood heroes, whether it was comic illustrators, actors that played these superhero roles or superhuman personalities. But as you get older, it sucks because the reality of it is, whether it's just because we're getting older, they're older, we're seeing a lot of our heroes pass on. Just look at the film industry. I mean, film industry, actors, comedians, writers, illustrators. We've lost so many of our heroes. And that's, I mean, everybody out there, it's a part of us getting older. That's a harsh reality of it. But I find with toys, we're able to capture that essence of our memory in whether it was a voiceover for a Ninja Turtle or an actor that played a Power Ranger. If you have the Green Ranger, if you have the figure that brought memories as a kid, you remember watching him on the show, that's going to keep us connected to these people long after they're gone. And we're going to hold their memory. We're going to hold them in our hearts. And in turn, it makes them almost immortal in our generation, which is the best interpretation of anything I could think of as a tribute to these fallen heroes.
I'll touch upon that really quick. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would hit me harder than I thought it was going to. Because it was unexpected.
Yeah, Nerdist did a very good tribute to him. I would recommend people check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nerdist had a really touching tribute to him.
Because he is Batman.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. He's a generation, man. It's multi-generational Batman for many people.
The games, the show, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
By the way, guys, I didn't know that Tommy died. Did he died recently?
Today.
He died today?
Yeah.
Suicide.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I know. I just seen him at the con a week ago.
That's so bad.
Oh my god.
Or a week and a half, yeah.
Yeah, he was just posting on Instagram yesterday.
That's so bad.
Sudden, very tragic.
No. Once again,
it's a bad week for 90s kids.
Yeah. True. Yeah. For those struggling, call or text 988.
Yes.
And reach out.
All right. So as I do my top 5, I'll be doing 2 top 5s because I get to transition to the next topic. Now, number 5, as a kid in the 80s, we were really, really kind of spoiled. And I just had a ton of shit in the 80s. So this is tough. That's why I get to do 2 top 5s. Suck it. Number 5. And this was tough because the only real number 1 is Masters of the Universe. Okay. He-Man will forever be my number 1 figure of all time. But in those top 4, in no considering order, Mask. I still have Mask. I love Mask.
Wow.
I asked Emily for classifieds of Mask. I have a treatment for Mask. I love Mask. It's an amazing show. That intro, when Travis told me we were doing a tour kind of mood back in 2020, the only thing I could think of, ooh, I can now use Mask themed. Awesome. Number 4, Ghostbusters. And I had the bunker, I had the gas station, I had all the cars. Because my dad and my mom are both they love cars. We do F1, we've done Indy. So the fact that we had a car toy that was also a Transformer, it was a no-brainer. Ghostbusters. I still have my Firehouse. I still have my Ecto-1. I still have my Proton Pack. I still have my Trap. Do I have anything that goes with it? No. But I still have them. And I still have all my Ghostbusters. I still have some of the Proton Packs too. For the figures. Ghosts, gone bye-bye. I don't know where they went. I found my my Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, my stuffed Marshmallow Man. Gotta wash it. I found that. Someone brought it up, and I'm like, oh, damn. Thundercats.
I brought that up.
I had a ton of Thundercats, and Steven, when we were at PowerCon, I had to get that Super 7 Panther because I finally found it at cost. I was like, should I? Here's my card. And then number 2 was Ninja Turtles. I still have my van. I still have my my sewer. Not complete, but I have my figures. Yes. And then of course, as you saw, Mode 2 Masters. I've got my original. I've got some classics. I've got the 2000, the 200, the 2000X version. I've got Origins. I've got Master. I've got the box set. I love He-Man, and my parents, I went back and started watching one time, and I was like, wow. My mom was like, yeah, I suffered through these cartoons for you, my son.
Yeah.
It's the same animation back and front. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Such a fun property.
Yes, it is.
Bobby, what really resonated with He-Man for you? And I'll tell you what resonated with He-Man for me. What was it that grabbed you?
I have no idea. It was just colorful and cool, and you had great I found my blaster. This guy you did a rip cord and he blew up. That was just cool
I know,
shit.
it's goofy.
It's just cool. And I think as you get older, the cool thing about He-Man was the fact that he would go from not the original because it was just the same animation. He was just ripped no matter what he was. But in the 2000s, I loved his transformation in the 2000s because he's a scrawny little kid that has to like hammer throw the sword up to transform,
Mhm.
and then he transformed into like like what he actually was, like this like huge dude that could like beat bad guys. Like I love that. Like who doesn't want to be like who doesn't want to like transform into something more than.
I liked the fact that it mixed sorcery and science together.
Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, that's true. That's
Like-
true.
Like it's always the constant struggle, like with religion. I mean, sorcery, like it's akin to religion, and science and technology, and it's like we still struggle with that today. Like, what's the right answer? It's always science and religion are always constantly battling with each other. Like, who's right? Is it creationism or is it like the Big Bang Theory? And
Right.
it's called the Big Bang Theory for a reason. It's just a theory. They don't have actual concrete proof, so it's not Big Bang fact. It's Big Bang.
It's all faith. It's faith in science or faith in religion. It's still technically a faith.
You have to marry them both in order to survive.
Right.
Because you're not going to, get, God forbid, you're not going to get cancer and be like, oh, well, God will cure it. That's no. And then you're not going to be like, oh, well, when I die, I'm just going to stay planted in a box and turn into dust. And then that's that. You're going to hope you go somewhere, when you die. So you hope.
Yeah.
I'm going to Australia.
I get to cheat.
My apartment.
Put me in a box right there next to Thundercat.
When you die.
Now, I get to cheat here because I'm the co-host and I get to do this. Tony brings up a good point. Superpowers, and the Marvel figures of the 80s. Those are an honorable mention just because those were badass. I had a ton of them. But that does lead into connecting to our adulthood, and I never stopped collecting. I hit it. I hit the collecting. If I wanted a girlfriend in high school or college, actually, college, I said, screw it. I collect toys. But following the thread, it went from like He-Man, Turtles to the X-Men, the Toy Biz X-Men, the cartoon X-Men, Spider-Man, the Power Rangers, Batman. Like there was a 90s Justice League Ultimate collection that was like basically McFarlane back in the 90s. Like you couldn't pose them. It was just like they were already posed. I still have my Kyle Rayner because that's my Green Lantern. And then from there it was Marvel Legends, and Marvel Legends kind of still to this day
same here.
Takes up a lot of my collecting. And then today, I mean, it's like look, and this is the great thing. My wife would definitely disagree about this. The great thing about this chat is the fact that I got into G.I. Joe really for the first time because of y'all. My wife probably hates and curses y'all for getting me into G.I. Joe and back into He-Man because but it's one of those things where like, look, it also just like this is also kind of the big reason why my wife decided to keep dating me was the fact that she's like, you're a giant geek. You're not gonna like go out into clubs and cheat. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I'll just be at home. Yeah. I'll just be at home and unboxing new figures. Yeah. She knows where I'm gonna be. It's like when you watch cheaters, like, oh, let's follow where he's going. It's like they follow me. It's like we spend 7 hours and he's at his computer and playing still games. Like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Fabster, what we actually know what you still collect, man.
Yeah.
Like, how does this? I mean. Your background kind of dictates what you're still collecting. Just to be honest here, but like how let's connect what we loved into your giant Mezco collection. Let's just call it
Mez to the co.
It is the Mez collection.
Jesus Christ.
I will say though, real quick, as far as another thing that I forgot to mention, I'm doing like a top 10 at this point, but I remember in like the early 2000s, I was living in Florida and the Justice League cartoon was on. And I remember thinking like, there's no like really great figures. Like at that point I was already into Legends and stuff. So I wanted like articulation. So I remember seeing those kind of weird statue from the animated series and I wasn't into them. But I remember going to the Warner Brothers store at the mall.
Oh, yes.
The Warner Brothers studio store or whatever. It's basically like Suncoast Video or whatever, or like the Disney store now, but for all the Warner Brothers stuff. And they had like Justice League like plushies. Mm-hmm. They were like in kind of figure form. They weren't like super exaggerated or anything, but they had like the muscle lines like embroidered in and everything. And they were like plushies. Essentially, they're probably about 8 inches tall or something.
Yeah.
And I had like the whole Justice League roster of those. Those were like the ones that were sat on my bed.
Yeah, I miss the Warner Brothers store. That's where I get my Pinky and the Brain stuff from.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun store.
Now I got to go to the actual Warner Brothers studio to hit their studio store.
Yeah,
and they don't have those plushies.
Gotcha. I have to step out for 1 second. I'll be back.
Okay.
So to connect that old stuff with what I do now, I mean, like I said with Max Steel, that's basically what got me on the tip of doing the soft goods and everything. Obviously, it was a different scale and it worked way different, but it just got me used to that idea of like I only need like one body, and then I can just like get different outfits for it or different accessories, and it's a whole new figure or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's specifically why I chose Max Steel, because I kind of put it out of my mind until maybe like in the last year where I realized, oh, that is kind of where that model came from. And with so many like independent creators doing, their own soft goods, you could buy all these, blank bodies from all these different companies and different proportions and different sizes and musculatures. And then there's so many people doing like 3D printed accessories and custom head sculpts and all that stuff. That whole thing has come back, huge in the last couple of years, especially. And that's, I think, partly because of Mezco and how they kind of changed the soft goods game and in the 6-inch scale. So that was sort of the paradigm shift that I had seen a few years ago. And it's Designer Con weekend right now. And it was literally basically 3 years ago to the day where I was like, oh shit, this is like the next thing. I'm just going to get rid of like because I still had my like Legends and NECA collection as far back as 2019, which is the last Designer Con before the pandemic. And then that was what really was the impetus for me to just let go of everything else to focus on Mezco and like more specifically the soft goods form factor. And then kind of since then, that's also morphed into like anybody really just doing like independent IP, like nothing necessarily licensed.
Like Rumble
Obviously,
Society.
Mezco has their licenses and everything, but Rumble Society has taken off so much that it's got me thinking about other lines from other companies that may not have as many soft goods as I like. I always will prefer it. But, if I'm going to the Designer Con and there's a dude hawking his own figure called the Phantom Star Killer and it glows in the dark and it's just a fun display piece, I'm like, yo, I like you. You're going to appreciate my purchase more than some multi-billion-dollar corporation who I'm not even like a drop in a bucket for,
Yeah.
And it's all morphed into this weird like anti-corporatism thing. Obviously, these are all companies. They're all trying to make a profit or whatever. But I'm much happier doing that for a small company like Super 7 than like a Hasbro,
Yeah. I feel like the exercise in capitalism is mitigated by the love of the brand and the appreciation of the art.
Yeah, but I also think companies are taking advantage of people's love for certain brands to, rake them over the coals with price increases and less accessories and all that stuff. So I can't allow nostalgia to like let me, just accept bad product. So I'm more willing to accept, a newer product or a new IP that will hopefully be nostalgic for in 20 years. Like we're nostalgic for the stuff now that was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Even the Hoods figures in a sense, there's nostalgia because of the original figures from way back. Yeah.
Nosferatu. I have the OG Nosferatu too, the vintage one.
Nice.
From Aztec Toys, pre-Mezco.
What do I mean? What?
I'm sorry. Quiet there.
I was so caught up in Fabio's passionate speech, I forgot the original question.
So were you caught up, or were you judging it? Because I saw some faces over there.
I saw the faces. I made the faces. Yes, I made the faces.
Yeah.
You know how it works already.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the question? Sorry.
Well, follow the stream from your original collecting to today. What are you collecting today, and like how was your childhood? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said when I was naming off my top 5, it's the main thing I collect is Dragon Ball SH figure arts, because Dragon Ball is like my favorite anime. It's like my favorite property of all time. So I truly love that series, and I truly love every character that's in that series. So it's really funny watching. Excuse me. It's really funny watching like the circle around a new figure being announced in the SHF community. I love Dragon Ball, and I've met some great people in this community. Dragon Ball SHF is without a doubt by miles one of the most toxic figure communities of all time. It's
Wow.
I literally do not interact with like the majority of that because it's just like constant complaining all the time.
Worse than
But-
Hasbro?
no. It's an import company. It's Tamashii Nations. It's Bandai.
It's Bandai. Yeah.
No, I know. I was joking because like everyone complains about Hasbro.
No.
Sure.
It's enough.
Yeah, like people at Hasbro complain too, but like I just don't know. It's like Hasbro, like so for Marvel Legends, it's such a wide roster spanning decades and decades and thousands of characters. I would imagine that there's more room for people to complain versus just like a franchise that had 3 shows.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that's beyond the point. But like I will the reason I bring that up is because like I'm excited for every single character that comes out. It's just an opportunity to have a representation of that character in plastic form in my collection. So like while people are like super pressed that like a pan is coming out or they haven't done Boo yet or some nonsense like that, I'm just lucky to have any other figure come out. So Dragon Ball SHF is like my favorite toy line that I collect for. And that ties in directly to like Super Battle Collection that I collected when I was a kid. And I mean that's really like the most prominent thing. Like the rest of my like figure collection is just like cherry picked from like a lot of stuff that I liked in childhood. I do a lot of video game stuff, but I would say Pokemon is like probably the second thing I collect now most. Just because like it's such a huge roster, and toy companies now are more conscious in creating figures that scale well with each other and 6-inch figures all together. Like, you know, back in the day, it was just like it was a free-for-all in terms of scale. Like you would have a Pikachu figure that's like this tall, and a Pikachu's like a foot tall in the show or in the game. But then you'd have like a legendary bird, which is like 20 feet tall, that is the same size as the Pikachu. Unbelievable. So I mean, like, and now like some they're not 100% in scale, but at least there's some effort now. Like they just recently released like these legendary birds, and they're like huge. They're like 7-inch figures or like 6-inch figures or something. And comparatively to, you know, other figures, they're big enough, I guess, at this point.
You're right.
Yeah. So those would be my number 2. And then just sprinkled throughout everything else, it's just stuff that resonates to me from like my childhood or stuff that I like now. So like you know, whenever like Spider-Man stuff comes out and all that stuff, like I'll mess with that, obviously. Like
dude, how can I forget the damn Sam Raimi movie stuff? I was huge into the Sam Raimi Toy Biz line. Oh my god, dude. Same thing. It was like a collection I shared with my stepbrother because like my dad would come visit from Venezuela. He'd bring the stepbrother and stuff. My dad loves Target. It's his favorite store of all time. Whenever he comes to the States, we got to go to Target. We're making a day of it. And I remember we'd be hanging out at Target for so long that before we even like got to the checkout, we would open the toys and like play with them in Target. Me and my stepbrother, we would like be following dad around and playing with our Sam Raimi Spider-Mans and stuff. I remember getting the super articulated one with like the magnetic hands and stuff, and he was always more into like the gimmicky ones that are more like pre-posed, but they do like, I don't know, there's the one that like swings and has like a lamp post or whatever. So he was more into like that stuff, but I was on the right side of history because that super articulated one ended up being like crazy expensive afterwards. And that was the magnetic one. If I had the real super articulated one, god damn.
Yeah, I actually found it's funny you bring that up. I actually found I had the Peter Parker that can change. I found my one with like
the wrestler one. Yeah, I had that one too. I dug it up recently, and the rubber like outfit that you change him into, like the wrestler suit, is just like completely melted.
Oh, mine isn't that bad, but I have the one where like you can pull the mask off, And I'm like holding this going, why isn't Hasbro doing this type of stuff? This would be really fun. The mask is so perfectly like rubbery and everything.
Yeah, okay.
And then the one with the gargoyle where like you can like pull like the little
that was the first
down.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that.
From
I found that yesterday. I was like, ooh, I still have mine.
I think I still have the base somewhere. I got rid of the figure long ago.
I'm pissed. I had that in the box and I sold it like a decade ago. I'm now going, damn it.
That was one of the first times I could recognize bootlegs, because when I would go visit my grandma in Venezuela, same thing. Like the market outside of her place would have like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man figures, and I already had the real battle damaged one like back at home.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the battle damaged one there, being sold at somebody's table, and it was just the most bootleg look. The package, everything looked pretty legit, but you look at the figure itself, the paint apps looked terrible. And
was he Arachnid Boy?
No, the packaging was 1-to-1. Like they did a really good job recreating it. Even like the weird like trifold that was on the corner.
Yeah,
they did a good job of that. But the figure itself, you could tell, was just like a gloppy painted mess.
That's hilarious, Ronnie. We know what you collect, but
what I collect now. So I mentioned how with Ninja Turtles, I was gonna collect. I collected some of the NECA. Thanks to you guys here, by the way, for sending me some of those line. Steve and Genghis. But those didn't hit the nostalgia button that I wanted, so I ended up finding the old school ones, the ones I had as a kid. And when I stepped away about 40 minutes ago for like 2 seconds, because I remembered, hey, hang on a minute, I know where they are. I figured I'd show and tell a little bit. This is the original transforming one, as you can see from the back.
Nice.
Yeah, you got the head, the little tail, the legs come out, and that's what it was. Bing bang. Even has the weapons with him too. That was Leonardo. Of course, Rat King. I always tend to go towards the bad guys. I just like how the bad guys look. Even in Star Wars, I'm a Sith at heart. It's kind of looking a little blurry. The focus is a little off, but
no, it's fine. It's fine.
They're not too bad. Let me see what else. Use yours. I have original Splinter.
Yeah, love that.
Still moves. Still all the pieces. Everything works well. No weapons with him though, regrettably. And of course, I have a just about mint Leonardo's Samurai with all the flag, even the original stickers, everything. I have it in a bag because I don't want them to get yellowed. But even have a little stand with them. Let me see. There we go.
Oh, I got mine down there.
The original. Yeah. I got everything, all the entire accessories with them. So obviously, you know that. Anybody that knows me here or has ever seen any of the episodes I do, I am the Star Wars guru. I started collecting Star Wars when they started doing the Black Series, because the old school ones I had I was, like I said in the intro, I had probably a bunch of them when I was like 6 or 7, and we played with them. I had the X-Wing, I had a TIE Fighter, I had a lot of the figures, none of the play sets or any of the big builds, but as an adult, I'm like, they started coming out with Black Series, and they were at my local Toys R Us, and I remember them being like $11.99. I remember I got the original R2. Anybody that knows me, I'm the MIB, mint in box collector. I don't crack my stuff anymore when I buy new stuff. So I have original Star Wars Black Series. I got R2 when R2 was in a clearance bin at Toys R Us for like $4. I wasn't thinking they were going to be worth what they are today, so I got them. I got the original first run line. I have Darth Maul in his original packaging. I have everything. I have a signed Darth Maul by the actor that played him. That's another thing that I have as my collection. Transformers are a new collector for me over the course of the past 2 years. Again, one I can't thank Hasbro enough for sending Toy Kind of Mood promo boxes, and they started my addiction. They started me with a taste with the the Netflix series figs, and I have too many. My wife doesn't know, and what you don't know, don't tell. I am a mint in box collector, so I don't have everything. I have like 2 or 3 bookshelves of which I put my collectors out there on boxes, and I rotate it literally by season. In my attic, I probably have 150-gallon totes of toys. It's insane. And everything's in. My attic is and my attic's a finished attic with a rug. It could be an apartment up there. Nope, it's a warehouse. It's like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. when they're bringing in, and you see that's all my toys. I could literally open up a toy store, but I don't want to sell anything. I don't want it. It's mine.
There you go.
You
It's
know?
like Steve Stansweet, right? The guy who runs.
You ain't kidding. My girl tells me all the time, "You're gonna go through that. You know, you got some stuff that's worth money." I go, nah. It's like retirement or something. Don't worry about it. It's out of sight, out of mind. If she don't see it, she don't care. And that was the kind of like what Bobby, you know, if when she sees Amazon boxes coming in, again during the pandemic, you know, we all had expendable income. Nostalgia train was full bore. I had packages coming in every day. You know, pre-orders, this and that. Now I'm a lot more selective. But it's like she'd see Amazon boxes and I'd get that slight eye. I'm like, don't worry, baby, it's gonna go away. Don't worry about pre-ordered it a year and a half ago, which in a lot of cases we're gonna go into that. You know, pre-orders were so far out. I'm still getting stuff. It was funny because I had a pre-order come in, I forgot all about, and I pre-ordered it back in the end the end holiday season 2020. I'm like, oh yeah, from Amazon. I was like, oh yeah, it's something kept getting pushed back, which is an action figure, but I forgot all about it. It came in the mail. I'm like, what the hell is that? I was like, does anybody order something? I see my name on it. I crack it open. It's a Star Wars figure. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up. It was 2020.
It's always a pleasant surprise.
Right. It's like when you're a collector, it's Christmas every day. It really is. You know, within our means. I've had to scale back my collecting. So of course I do Hasbro, good and bad, E-Corp and Friendly Corp. With the constant repaints and reissues and just massive pumping out of figures, I've slowed my roll when it came to collecting. I had to. I can't afford to do like I was doing.
Yeah.
My constant river flow of toys and collecting has trickled down to a selective hand-picked selection now. Like I said, these kind of things, these figures that I showed you with the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Shout out to Toy Vault. It's a local toy store. They have 3 or 4 stores, you know, actual physical brick and mortar stores. They always are at Comic-Con, Rhode Island Comic-Con. I did coverage for Toy Kind of Mood, Rhode Island Comic-Con. You guys are going to be seeing that in a week or two. Met a lot of awesome people there, but that's the different episode. So they sell these figs for anywhere from like $10 to $15, depending if they have accessories. And it's literally the toy I had in hand as a kid. You know, I'm a freak. As soon as I got it, I smelled it. Why? Because the plastic back then and the paint. Right?
Is he Ronny?
Right. I'm like, you can smell the vintage. You know what I mean? Like a fine wine, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
You know, we all know what it is. It's that cancer-causing polymer that we all chewed on as kids. Yeah. Nothing's made healthy.
Was I the only one that like would taste the ooze, the slime?
No, I did. Nah, see, Steven was too uppity. He had the box, you know, ooze with the gold.
He didn't open the slime canisters.
No, I did.
Dude, I licked my Play-Doh fingers as a kid. That's why I'm a knucklehead today. I ain't ashamed.
I eat paste. I used to eat Play-Doh, but the slime was just so gross looking. I was like, I'm not tasting it.
It got everywhere. Yeah, right. It got everywhere, and then it would get on your fingers. I mean, especially being a 8, 9-year-old kid, man. I'm like, you just look around, nobody looking.
Delicious. They put sugar.
There was always that one kid. What was it about paste?
I never did that. I have no idea.
You don't know that paste has sugar in it?
No.
It does. Well, it used
what?
Elmer's paste used to have sugar inside of it.
Oh, that's funny.
What?
Yes.
Huh.
Right.
Why? Well, okay, yeah.
I never ate paste, thank God.
Okay, well, moving on to Steven.
I dug these out real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, like
nice.
line.
Sugar gets sticky. That's why.
Hey, that's fun.
Some vintage X-Men.
Yeah.
Nice.
I bought these. This one I bought not even recently, in the last like couple of years, because I just wanted him for the motorcycle. I don't even remember where I got this guy from. I think somebody just sent it to me in another package because they're like, "Hey, you like soft goods? Here's Magneto with the soft goods cape." And honestly, this holds up. It's a nice looking cape.
Right.
I really regret selling my.
I'll end it with this, Bobby. I know you want to move on. Let me say one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the 3 top oldest people in here, with maybe an exception or 2. My toy collecting, mint in box, started when I was 13 or 14 years old. That's when I started. I stopped playing and I started collecting.
Wow.
First thing I actually collected in box, believe it or not, was when they first came out with the Predator line. I mean, not even Predator. It was the AVP. It was Alien versus Predators, but there was no Alien versus Predators. It was Alien lines and Predator line.
Yeah,
I don't remember who the manufacturer was, but it was
They were
back in
Kenner.
like 93, 94 maybe.
Kenner.
Kenner, yes. Yeah. I used to collect those, and I had them all in box. I had them on my bookshelf. I was like a freshman in high school, and they were awesome. And my brother, he's 10 years younger, the bastard. If you watch, well, you won't watch because you don't support me because you're a little prick. I love you. But he's like, my brother's like, he's like a clone of me, except a lot more sass because he's 10 years younger. He was a kid. He was only 9. How old was he? Oh my God. He was like 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. He ended up, I come home from school and all I saw, all of a sudden I see a weapon, like the cast blaster on the ground. I'm like, the hell is that?
Okay.
I'm like, now all of a sudden I see it looks like a broken alien tail. I'm like, what the f is that? And then I go in my room and all my figures are off. And I go in my brother's room. He's sitting there, smashing them. He took some, like a broom, and knocked them off. Because it's, my brother, wants his older brother's shit. Knocked him off the shelf with like a broom and just started cracking them open. Oh, no. Talk about nuts. That was my first collecting experience. And maybe that's why I'm a little OCD now with not letting anybody touch my box stuff. Thank you, Roger. It's because of you. PTSD, cracking my shit open.
Ronnie, did you beat his ass after he did that?
Oh, I grabbed him by the hair as he was running. I lifted him off. And then my mother hit me with the old Portuguese spoon. I was like, ah! Yeah, I'm Portuguese and Portuguese growing up. Your mother was tougher than your father. She had the Dr. Scholl's like slip sandals that were like clogs.
The clog
kick them off like Bruce Lee, boy. Oh yeah, you older guys know. I'd run and jump off my porch, duck one, get up, go ha ha, and turn around, and the other come right in the back of my head to kick them off like Bruce Lee. So you respect the moms. That's all I gotta say.
Like veterans, man.
Steven, we know very much what you collect today, but just break it down real quick.
Well, I mean, you want everything or top 5 it?
Those are your top 5 it.
Top 5 it. What I collect currently is, of course, we all know that I collect Marvel Legends with a heavy skew towards X-Men characters. I can't collect all of it. With the Avengers MCU, I kind of just collect just one character that represents each person, like, because obviously there's like 20 Iron Men, there's like 30 Captain Americas, there's like 15 Black Panthers. So I just collect one Iron Man. That's my definitive Iron Man, my definitive Captain America, my definitive Black. Because that gets expensive. But X-Men, I mean, they could, like I said to Dwight and Ryan and Dan, I said, you can do Deadpool on a toilet, and I'd probably buy it.
You would.
I don't care. Like any X character, like Rogue in a bathing suit. Of course, most guys would buy that.
Everybody wants that.
Yeah.
Waiting for that. A 6-7 pack of all of them at the barbecue.
Yeah. Like I said, you should do the X-Men, like, in their bathing suits from that swimsuit issue. He's just like, nobody's gonna buy that. I said, everybody's gonna buy it.
We want Jort's Wolverine. You heard it here.
Yes.
So I do collect Masterverse. That's a really awesome line because it's different takes. You could tell it's the character that you knew and loved, different take on it, which is great. Right. What else do I collect? I do collect the NECA Ninja Turtles because now here's the thing. So Ronnie said they weren't hitting the nostalgia button for him because he likes the old ones. When I was a little kid, I didn't like the old ones. And the reason I didn't like the old ones is, well, it's all we had, so that's all I could collect. But like, I didn't like them because they didn't look like the cartoon. Mm-hmm. And I like all of my toys to look like the cartoon. And so our He-Man figures, like, Origins, doesn't look like the cartoon. Like Filmation, like these characters that I got down here, where are they? These ones, they look exactly like the cartoon. So I've always just wanted my figs to look like the cartoon.
That's probably a good thing though, because it keeps you from getting too many other versions of the same character.
Right. Yeah. So my wallet thanks me, but my wallet also hates me because I collect so much shit. So and I do collect Transformers Masterpiece, which is actually good because only 1 or 2 comes out per year, and I'm almost done. I'm just collecting all of the ones that were in the 1986 animated movie. So the last one I got was Astro Train, or they call him Thomas. Fans Toys does a gigantic
Thomas.
Yeah, because as in Thomas the Tank.
He's a train. That's so good. There's that one third-party Optimus Prime just called David.
And is it a Masterpiece?
I think so.
Okay. I have the Toys R Us version, like the MP10 that came with the trailer, because you got to have the trailer if you're gonna have Optimus Prime. You can't just have just the cab. Yeah, so that's 3 of them, and you went to 2 others. Oh yeah, of course. What most of us collect, not all of us, most of us collect GI Joe classifieds. I believe KJ also has a Dr. Mindbender and a Serpentor on his way to him.
Yes.
Just as me and Travis do. We're patiently waiting for our Dr. Mindbender and our Serpentor. I'm not full hog into that line. Like, I'm just collecting beloved characters, like, you know, Falcon, CoverGirl, if they ever do a Jinx, of you know, I'll maybe possibly Cobra Law. I do have a question to ask KJ after I'm done talking about this.
All right.
About that line. I collect that. So what is that, 4 that I go rattled off just now? That's 4, and then a 5th line that I collect. Actually, yeah, there is a 5th line that I collect. NECA does the Spawn characters. If you've ever seen them in Target. When I was a little kid, I always wanted Spawn, but I just, as a kid too, I was like, I just collect so much shit. There's just so much shit. And
McFarlane toys. I don't think NECA would do Spawn.
You're right. It is McFarlane. Yeah. So Ronny has all those totes in his attic. When I was growing up in the house that I grew up in, we also had an attic as well, and I had all those totes in my attic too. Then my parents got a divorce and they sold the house, and then I had to move into an apartment, and then I had to get a fucking storage unit, and then that was bad because that starts to eat into your value and into your you know, your, like, as your collection's going up in value, it's decreasing in value because you're paying a monthly storage unit fee. So I sold a lot of it off. I had all of the Simpsons Playmates, sold those off to Big Bad Toy Store for credit.
My God.
I had all of the Justice League figures that Fob said that he didn't like because they looked cheap, the Mattel ones. I had the entire collection. I had the Javelin. I had the you know, the Watchtower playset. Sold those all off on eBay. Got a nice chunk of change for that. And so the reason that I have the collection that I have now, it's because of that. So what it allowed me to do is I have the entire He-Man and She-Ra Classics collection. I have an entire vintage, some of them are recreations, but I have the entire vintage Transformers collection too. I have all of the ones from the repros, but they're still, you know, they're same thing. Now my question to KJ about G.I. Joe classifieds.
Okay.
Do you think, and this is probably, this has to be on another topic, but I did want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think that line has enough legs, has enough strength to do well over the 350 different characters that are in the mythos that they've done? So, like, they've created a little over 350 characters in some form or fashion of another since 1982. Do you think that they'll hit all 350 plus characters?
No, I think we'll run out of steam maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, because there's like a core group of characters that everyone knows and loves from G.I. Joe. Without media, without films, without shows, people aren't going to keep collecting. Like, maybe some people will get Renegade variants from Resolute, or maybe, you know, this or that. We saw the Snake Eyes Origins just didn't do that well.
Well, was it kind of a not great movie though?
No, it wasn't. But they were.
I like Snake Eyes. It was a fun movie.
I did not like the movie.
Terrible.
But it was.
I'm gonna go with KJ on this one.
It gave people a lot of it just put a lot of eyes onto the brand, a lot of visibility, right? But without that, it's just a hardcore group. And Collectors Club didn't last long. 25th anniversary was a nice tribute, but that only went so far. And you can go do all those characters because of the smaller format. Materials are cheaper then, but you're still making smaller figures, right? Smaller tooling. Yep. So it's only going to go so far. Like, we're not going to see Crystal Ball. We're not going to see Ice Cream Soldier. We're not going to see like the really off the wall disco characters from Joe's. But what we're going to get, they're going to be great, you know. So I'm still looking forward to those.
Do you think we'll get Cobra Law?
I think so. I would like to see Cobra Law. I would love to see that.
I hope so. All right, that answers my question, because I don't think so either.
All right. Well, now moving on, KJ, real quick to something that, you know what, Ronny kind of hit on it just a minute ago. The brick and mortar stores of our younger years no longer exist. Sad but true. KB gone. Toys R Us kinda gone. Kinda. But you know what? Here's the cool thing: is like everyone lives somewhere different. There's Toys R Us, there's KB, but did anyone here actually have another store that might not have existed anywhere else? Because I know there's different stuff like that. You know what, KJ? We'll jump to you, man. What was your like favorite toy store, if you will, that might not have existed anywhere else?
All right. Well, I would say, you know, a lot of this kind of hits home for me because, you know, I used to, you know, go with my mom, who's since gone on. But I used to go with her, and she would like grab me something, or I'll be able to grab something. So a lot of it was like a lot of places that my mom used to go. So there's a lot of stores like Montgomery Ward. I don't know if people remember those.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
They used to have like a kid's store. A lot of these stores are just a thing of the past. Best, not Best Buy, or even Best & Co., which is a different store, but just Best. We had a Best in Dallas, Texas, and sometimes I could pick up toys from there. Kmart, you know, RIP Kmart. You could always Joe exclusives would go to Sears, would go to Kmart. Hell, I think some Joe exclusives even went to Ross at one point. It's crazy. Service merchandise.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah, service merchandise. You can get.
I love service merchandise
Applications. It was kind of like what Best Buy is now, but at Best Buy mixed with a jewelry store. But they had figs as well, and you could get good prices. So even if you couldn't find something at Toys R Us, you know, or this place KB, you could probably find it at a service merchandise. So it's just weird that these places, you know, nothing lasts forever. And even the places that we used to love going to as kids or with our family members and the memories, it's cinemas that we used to watch movies are like some stuff goes. It's life. You know, it's bigger than toys. It's life. Yeah. So I would say just hold on to those memories. You know, hold on to those figures that have that KB Toys price tag on it. You know, just like just hold on to the good times.
Yeah, I won't lie. I'll give mine real quick. But service merchandise, I loved that store because I had always the figures I was looking for. I totally forgot about it. And Kmart, yeah, I remember.
Catalog?
Huh?
Do you guys remember the Christmas catalog, the service merchandise catalog?
Oh yeah, I loved getting those catalogs. Oh,
I remember the Sears catalog. Yeah,
circle what I wanted.
Me too. Me too.
When I was in like middle school, like at the end before my ADHD started kicking in, my parents would like take me to like Sears, or they'd put stuff on layaway, and then like, you know, because I had like all A's, I get like, you know, my big figure, my big toy, which was always super. It was usually superpowers. I remember getting my bat copter. That was, which I wish I had still. I had a Child's Palace. Was it Child's Palace? Or Child's Palace? Yeah, it was a giant. Yeah, it was a giant. Like, and the storefront had like these like giant turrets on it. And I remember like for a birthday, my parents were like, "Here's $100. Go wild." And I remember one of the things I got was it was a Ninja Turtle like mix and match, where like you could like take the plates and like mix and match the plates and create your own character. Yeah, that was always fun. All right, Steven, let's jump with you, man.
Oh, hold on a second. Before we do that, I do want to show off, like, so what you were talking about. I just got a drop from Ronny. And
so let me elaborate on that pick. So I think when you described Child Palace?
Oh my God, yes, Child World.
It was Child World because that was here. I just dropped that in there. Child World. I was putting that in there for me. And as soon as you described it, I was like, dude, that was Child World, man. Because I had one like 3 miles away growing up.
Yeah, we had that. The mascot was a panda.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
We had that too. Yeah. So So with that, most of what I'm going to say, Ronnie's going to agree with me because we're both East Coast. I think Travis said that you had some of these stores. So you want me to talk about the stores that we've already mentioned? Or all right, so we'll go really quick. KB Toys R Us, yes, we had them in Jersey. Child World, that was my third favorite toy store. We had them in Jersey. They were great. Now a couple of the service merchandise we had, and I'd get my toys there too. Very rarely I'd get them from Sears or J.C. Penney's. They would only have that shit during like the holiday season. They wouldn't really have it all the time. Now the other two stores, because we didn't have Walmart Targets on the East Coast when I was a little kid. We started getting them like as I got older. What we had was Bradley's and Caldors. So I would go to Bradley's and Caldors, which is like a Target or like a Walmart. You go in there, they'd have all kinds of, same shit that you'd see in Target, like women's clothes, laundry detergent, maybe some food, right, Ron? Maybe like snacks. Not really like produce like Targets and Walmarts have now, but they'd have like crackers and
chips, crackers.
But not like a cafe or something.
Yeah,
right?
shit like that. But then they would all have really elaborate toy sections. And so basically when I got back into collecting, I was walking through a Bradley's and I was 17. I had just got my driver's license. And you have to be 17 to get a driver's license on the East Coast, not 16 like out here. I was walking through past, I was going to go buy a video game. I was walking in electronics and I walked past this big end cap display of like the X-Men characters from the 90s. And what caught my eye was this chick with white hair and a lightning bolt on her chest. And she's African American. And I was just like, wow, I was like a superhero that's African American. I was like, and this is a girl. I was like, this is badass. This is amazing. And I looked her up and her name is Storm. And I looked at the back of it. I was like, I don't know who the hell this is, but this is awesome. I'm buying this. And so I took it, wrapped a little string around her neck, and I hung her for my rear view mirror. And then as I'm like looking at her, I'm just like, maybe I'll go back and buy her friends tomorrow. And I look in there and I see this dumbass dude with like claws. I'm like, that's a Freddy Krueger ripoff. I was like, I guess I'll get him. And then there's a few other characters. There's a guy like, with like this like light up eyes and stuff. I was like, I guess I'll get him too. And I just threw the other like 6 of them from that wave into my cart. And then from there on, back to collecting toys since I was 17. I don't think there's any other toy stores that would be exclusive to East Coast that you guys haven't heard of. So you covered Child World. Kmart too. Yeah, we had Kmart's on the coast. And then they became garbage. That's it. Ron, was there any other ones that I didn't cover? Like,
yeah.
Did you have Caldors?
No, but we had Bradley's, but I don't know if this one was an East Coast like staple or if it was across the country. But in the vein of, we had the typical places, but in the vein of Kmart or Walmart style, this is predating Walmart's completely. Mm-hmm. It was called Woolworths.
Oh yeah.
And we had a Woolworths in the Dartmouth Mall. We had one in the downtown New Bedford area, but then the one I used to go to as a kid was the one in the Dartmouth Mall. And I remember they had a what was it? Like, they're not called soda jerks, but like an ice cream parlor or like an old school. They were like soda jerks, but they have burgers and fries and like blue plate specials with like the hamburger patty with onions and mashed potatoes and this. I mean, the 80s kids staples. I loved to go. I was fondest memories going to Woolworths with my grandparents. And they were like again, they were like Walmart or Kmart, but better because I remember again, it might have had my 8-year-old blinders on or whatnot, but you feel like it's larger than life. I remember these toy aisles being as long as the eyes can be with all these wide range of variety of stores where Toys R Us was big, but Toys R Us was always a little pricey. KB was when it was less money, but it was very small store. So going to Woolworths was a day trip. It was like we'd go to the mall, we'd shop around a little bit. We'd go to Woolworths. I'd get a toy or something. My grandparents getting their everyday things. And then we hit up that counter and I'd get, meatloaf and mashed potatoes with peas or corn or whatever it was. And what was it called? Oh my God, what were they called? It was a coffee fizz, which I don't know if that's East Coast or not. It was soda water with coffee. Oh yeah, because it would be East Coast because coffee syrup, right, Steve?
Yes.
It was soda water with ice cream blended with only a little bit of ice cream, soda water, ice cream, and milk and coffee syrup.
What is wrong with y'all?
Yeah, it was called
What's wrong with us? No, you mean what's right with us?
Thank you.
No.
And it was like, you know, and those things were awesome. So you'd have your sit, and that is nostalgia. If you find that today, you're paying $18 at a niche pop-up ice cream, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it's called, soda jerk pop-up down in LA, where you're paying $23 for this soda.
Yeah,
soda water deliciousness.
Not to be a history buff and drop some knowledge on you all, but Woolworths was actually the evolution of, if you guys remember our parents, the 5 and 10.
Yeah.
The 5 and 10 became
5 and dime, we used to call it.
Yeah, the 5 and 10 became Woolworths. Unfortunately, my Woolworths downtown Rutherford, New Jersey, did not have that restaurant section, but we did have that counter where you can get the soda jerk and the coffee fizz and everything.
Coffee fizz, yeah.
But you couldn't get food, but there was a little restaurant adjacent to that Woolworth. It was called the Roadrunner, and they used the Roadrunner from Warner Brothers as their mascot. You know, copyright infringement wasn't really that really wasn't something back in the 80s, because like I remember Dairy Queen used to be able to put like, you know, Optimus Prime and Garfield, stuff like that.
Right.
Then like,
well, there was no internet, so it wasn't like they could see their logos by looking up. They had to physically know they were advertising with their stuff.
Yeah, then in the 90s, and they're like, yeah, we can't put that on your cake because we don't have the license to do that. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, Woolworth brings back
Woolworth, man. Yeah, and like I said, it was in the mall. Yeah,
well,
it was in the mall.
I do want to keep things moving.
Oh yeah, it was just pull up counters and you sit right up.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Pancho. What about you, man? What were your toy stores?
I didn't really have like specific toy stores. I used to move around a lot, so I don't really remember a lot of stuff. But I do remember shopping at Caldor a lot. Kmart, obviously, for sure, and then Toys R Us for sure, and then KB Toys too.
Yeah.
But I would shop around a lot at like video game stores too. Of course, Babbage's. I used to love Babbage's a lot. And then GameStop absorbed Babbage's, and then it just became GameStop or whatever.
Yeah. Shout out to Electronics Boutique.
Yeah, Electronics Boutique. There's
you remember Game Crazy?
What's up?
Do you remember Game Crazy?
Yeah, Game Crazy was wild.
Yeah.
You should look up what they did during the pandemic. That was wild too.
What?
Oh, yeah, we had a Game Crazy up until about a year ago in that area. Then it became Game Gold.
Never
heard of it.
But
Game on meds. It became. It really got toned down.
Electronic Boutique still exists in Canada. Like it hasn't been absorbed. It's still an electronics boutique. But my favorite video game store used to be this video game store called Yesterday's, and that was like in like Louisiana and stuff. It was kind of an offshoot of Babbage's, but they sold figures there too. But they would always have like import video game stuff too. I remember when the Dreamcast came out, they had like Shenmue 2, an imported version of Shenmue 2, and then Sonic 2, they had an imported version. And I just remember like trading in all my Game Boy Color games so I could get Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast. So that's a pretty crazy memory.
That's awesome.
But yeah, when it comes to like toy stores, I don't really have a lot of like specific toy store memories, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Up north in like Oregon, there used to be stores called like Safeways. They were like supermarkets, but they would always have like video rental stores attached to them, like inside each one.
Yeah.
And I remember when I used to live up there, every Safeway had like a vending machine outside where you could put in cans and like glass bottles and stuff as like a recycling thing. So me and my friends would always like ride around the neighborhood on our bikes, like picking up cans and glass bottles, and we would ride our bikes to the Safeway and then like cash in all of our stuff, and we get like, I don't know, like $5 or $10, which is a lot of money back then. And we would go to like that video rental place, and then we would like rent video games and stuff. And then we pick up like weird like, you know, grocery store toys and stuff back then. But that I guess that would be like the most relevant memory I have to what we're talking about right now, is like literally going around my neighborhood and like picking up cans and like riding around with 2 huge garbage bags full of literal trash for like 2 miles, like going to a Safeway and then just putting them all in that stupid machine. So that's it.
Nice. Fabster, close it off for us, buddy. What's your memory?
It's a lot of the stores that you guys have mentioned for sure. I also moved around a lot. Once I got into the States, from Texas to Florida, Michigan, Washington State, up in the Bay Area here in California. So I kind of remember like specific memories based on like where I was living at the time. So when I was in Michigan, we had Fred Meyer.
Yep.
And I remember getting Fred Meyer had weird thing that like grocery stores back then had a toy aisle too, like a full on like stocked toy aisle. So that's where I got some figures there at Fred Meyer in Michigan. Michigan was also where I learned how to like ride a bike. I was in like 4th grade. That was when I learned how to ride a bike, and I would like ride, once I learned, to like my friend's house down, in the neighborhood, and then across like the big main street was the Toys R Us. So I'd bike to his house, and then we'd bike together from his house to Toys R Us. And that was right around the time of Marvel Legends, like Toy Biz, maybe Series 4 or something. So that was my 4th grade. When I was in, I think 6th grade, I was back in Florida, and that was when I started going to like malls with my friends, with like my middle school friends. And we shout out to the Sawgrass Mills Mall that had the KB toys. So that was where we did a lot of the KB toy shopping there. The typical sort of thing. I think it must have been around like 2007 or something, because I remember seeing that was when Hasbro first started doing Legends, or like the Marvel brand. And I remember seeing the Spider-Man 3 figures that were out at the time and thinking like, wow, these have like really gone downhill since I stopped collecting them.
Like the movie.
That was before I knew anything about like, these were originally made by Toy Biz and these are now Hasbro. I was just like, yo, these Spider-Man figures look terrible compared to the original 2 movie figures, which were Toy Biz. I think when I was in, so I'd mentioned Tom Thumb in Texas. That was like, 99, 2000, 01, something like that. In Seattle, I didn't really do much toy shopping. I was already in like early to late middle school. Yeah, maybe like 7th grade. So I was kind of out of it by then. But when I was back in Florida for 8th grade, I was waiting in line outside of a Walmart in Florida for the Nintendo Wii. We were in that line for 18 hours, baby. It was awesome.
Woo! Say that again, 18 hours?
Oh, yeah. We stood in line for 18 hours outside of Walmart in South Florida. And
for which Nintendo?
Nintendo Wii.
Wii.
Oh, okay.
The original Wii, yeah. And
I was working at GameStop when that came out. It was
oh my God.
Man.
So you were in like high school then, right?
Yeah, I started working at GameStop when I was 15.
Oh man, that's crazy. So yeah, not too far out from that. But while we were like waiting in line, we would like take turns, like, holding people's spot. Like nobody was like, an ass about it. But we'd, me and my group would like take turns going into the Walmart just to kind of kill time, do a a little walk. And that was when I got back into, at least for a little bit, when Hasbro was putting out like a Transformers Classics line.
Mm-hmm.
And that was there was like a Optimus Prime. They had an Ultra Magnus and Skywarp 2-pack that I got. There was just a few like random things like that. I think I had a Starscream from then too, but that was what got me like back into like Transformers at the time. That was, or maybe right before that, was like Transformers Armada. So I got into Transformers like post Beast Wars through Armada and Energon, and then Transformers Cybertron. So to me, like the Transformers Classics was like a more like amalgamated looks line. It wasn't like specifically from anything. It was like kind of its own thing, So I got into those just because I thought they were cool. I remember asking for some for like my birthday later that year or something, but that collection didn't last for too long. But yeah, pretty much everything everyone else mentioned. KB Toys. Oh, actually, another thing, when I was in high school too, must have been like my sophomore year or something. I wasn't driving, so I had to wait for someone to pick me up from school, and we didn't really live in town. So I would kill time at like the mall in front of our high school. They had a Rite Aid and a TJ Maxx. And I remember going into the Rite Aid one time, and they just had the entire Toy Biz Onslaught wave. That's like the Abomination, both versions with like the melted and the regular face. There was like the Loki, the Black Heart, and then a few others. And I remember building that whole wave, just seeing that like the Rite Aid had it. And I started like stashing them around the Rite Aid. I wanted to come back next week to get the next one. And then that was like the actual first Build-A-Figure I fully completed. And that's what got me like back into Legends. It was crazy that they had the Toy Biz stuff. This must have been like 09 or something. It was like years after that wave had come out. And then once I started back on Legends, then I got into eBay and all that. And that was how I filled out a little bit of a collection. But then the TJ Maxx that was also there in the mall in front of my high school just randomly had a lot of like the Hasbro Marvel Legends 2-packs. Like they had the Ultimate World War II Captain America with Nick Fury. They had both of the Fantastic Four sets. They had, and the one that I ended up picking up was the Jim Lee costume, like in the matching costumes, the ones that they're basically announcing right now. It was the 2-pack of Forge and Wolverine, and I picked that up.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And it's crazy that like 10, 12 years later, and they're doing them again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff. But it was just weird, like what random stores would have like a toy section.
Oh yeah. Before we get to our final thing, before we wrap up, I forgot Tower Records.
Oh, of course, Suncoast Video, all that stuff too.
Suncoast.
Suncoast, dude.
Tower. That's where I got kind of into collecting at when I was in college because there was a Tower Records. It's the one that Linklater filmed at. They were on the drag across from UT. Had some really just like random ass toys. It was like the Fox version of the Tick with Patrick Warburton, the whole Sin City line. They had all those, and so Matrix.
Sam Goody too.
Sam Goody,
Sam Goody, of course, yeah.
That's where all the McFarlanes were at.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
And don't forget, got to give a shout out to Strawberries. Anybody remember that place from the East Coast?
Yes. Yep.
Strawberries.
Have you shopped Strawberries?
I think that might have been an East Coast thing.
I think it was an East Coast thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Mandy's was an East Coast thing too, but they didn't. You know, that was a woman's clothing store, but we had that in town too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's never stopped me before.
As we wrap up, this week is Thanksgiving, and we're all about to get again about 2 to 3 pounds of food. So I'm gonna have 2, one with my wife, one with my family, because my wife's got to work. But real quick, just what are we thankful for? Cage, I'm gonna let you start. I'm gonna let you pass it around, man.
All right, man. I'm just thankful for the community. I'm thankful to have people that I can share my fandoms with, whether it's G.I. Joe's, Power Rangers, Star Wars, Masters of the Universe, whatever. It's meant a lot. And like it's almost like a shorthand. It's the closest to telepathy I can get to be like, oh yeah, these dudes are just like me, So I appreciate that very much. To our guest, Pancho, what are you thankful for in 2022?
Yes, I'll mirror the same thing you said. Extremely thankful for the community. The ACBA community, of course, but the entire toy community at large, 100%. I always say that like the toy community is a pretty niche community, and then the ACBA community is a nicher, like offshoot of a niche community. But it's really wild to see whenever the community comes together, and it's just really cool to see such a great community come together for something. Whatever the case may be, whatever it may be, like to celebrate a new toy coming out or just get together and just talk about things we're super excited for. And I feel like 2022, I felt the closest to the community that I felt in like a very long time. So
that's cool, man.
I'm super thankful for all that. 100%.
What about you, Fabster?
I was waiting for him to say popcorn and then somebody's name. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna also say that I'm thankful for the community because it really has been like, I mean, probably about 10 years now since I really got back into the hobby in full, and it's crazy to see just how far it's come in that time to rediscovering or really just discovering for the first time that there was communities of people who were just taking pictures of toys and posting them on social media, and how that's become such a household name where on the 1027 stream you got Dan Yoon saying like, oh, you guys who do ACBA are going to be really excited for this thing, so it's crazy to see how that in such a 10 years is a good chunk of time, I suppose, but it seems like such a short amount of time when you really think about it, where it really has changed how everybody views all this and how many new people it's brought into that. And everybody who, you know, if there's toy collecting, and then there's ACPA, the niche within the niche, and then to what I do on my channel specifically, which is such a niche within a niche within the niche, I'm very thankful for everyone who's kind of like followed along and has been supportive of, you know, the little things that I do on my channel. And that's opened up so many things, like with you guys at A Toy Kind of Mood, where you guys want to bring me on, and, you know, you got your own show going on, but you want to bring me on. And it's crazy to just see how many of these shows have popped up and how collaborative everybody is. It's not really this big sense of competition. And at the end of the day, the actual community is the one who benefits from it, because not everybody is a content creator, and the people who aren't, they watch everything. And there's so much content and so much for people to like fill their, you know, the tertiary part of the hobby with something that's outside of strictly just the buying and the collecting. There's something for people to interact with in a different way that, you know, we didn't have that 10 years ago. So the way that it's come up now, you know, I think it's something really special, and I'm very thankful to be a part of that. What about you, Ron?
I'm thankful to my family for allowing me to and supporting me during this entire pandemic with my toy collecting, helping co-create A Toy Kind of Mood. I'm thankful to the fans. I'm thankful for the viewers out there, you guys watching. The few select, you know, that still come out every week and watch the content that these brilliant people on screen that are putting up content on the weekly. From, you know, I'm thankful to Fab. I'm thankful to Pancheezy for coming out, and thank you for everybody that does collabs. I'm thankful for our community, for the ATKM family. I mean, I said it before, Bobby, the Great Texas Heat, you know, editor extraordinaire, the maestro. Without you, we've never have gotten off the footing we would have gotten. The platform
would not.
You know what I mean? The
That's
time
actually
and effort.
rattlesnake.
Thank your wife, because if she wasn't patient enough to allow you those editing hours, tell her we give her all our love from ATKM.
Yeah.
Thank you, you know, Black Genghis, KJ. You said the other day you weren't a founding father, but in my eyes, you're at least a founding father by adjacent at the minimum. You're one of the heart and soul of what ATKM represents.
Thanks,
and
man.
Of course, my brother from another mother, my boy Steve.
Yeah,
we have long chats on our chats from hashtag food porn to toy. You know, we get heated disputes, East Coast, West Coast, Boston, New York. It's all good, all the love. I am thankful to everybody out there within our community. I'm thankful for Travis. I know he did last week's episode. Another local New Bedford guy. You know, I'm just thankful for I'm thankful for everything here, guys. I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Steven, what about you, buddy?
You know, of course, everyone always, you know, had touched on thankful for the community. Of course, I'm thankful for them, but I'm not going to get into that because I reiterate the same sentiments. But I will say I'm thankful for the awesome people that we've met throughout the year and the years since we started ATKM. I'm thankful for them allowing us to do what we love the most. You know, honorable mentions like this past Comic-Con, like Emily, Lenny, Ryan, Dan, you know, from the Marvel Legends team, the G.I. Joe team, interviewing them. I'm thankful for the Mattel team. I'm thankful for when I went to the anniversary of He-Man at Mattel. I'm thankful for them allowing me to, you know, view product early. I'm thankful for Casey and Josh were great at Mattel, and you know, it was just such an interesting thing, and I got to voice Skeletor too while I was there, which was badass. So it was always a childhood dream to do that, and it's really it instills more passion in me when I see the brand managers and the designers more passionate than myself.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because to see it, like, you know, back in the day, if you see like a brand manager or designer that's just like, yeah, it's a paycheck, then it kind of just takes the piss out of it for me.
Yeah.
But everyone involved in all of those things, you could tell how much they love really what they do. And it makes me love their product all the more. So I'm very thankful for them. And I'm thankful for them guest starring on our show and giving us the time of day, which is great. I'm thankful for all of you all to talk to me and about, you know, commiserating with our, you know, one of our favorite properties. during the pandemic, it was great to have you all too, because I was living alone with a turtle and a dog at the time. I didn't really have a lot of people I could talk to. So it was nice to have you there. That's a lot what I'm thankful for as in relation to toys and our community.
To wrap up, what I'm thankful for, I mean, look, this has been a big year for me. Turned 40 and got married.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of y'all came to the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of y'all were in the wedding.
Yep.
This community has been a constant in a time when things have not been constant.
Yes.
Whether, and talking to y'all because y'all work or have the weirdest fucking hours out of anyone I've ever met. I could talk to you when I work the graveyard shift at like 4 a.m. Like, what do you do? I'm just getting up. What the fuck are you doing before? You know what? Let's do this. Let's talk. Right. Honestly, without the show, I would not be the collector I am right now. My wife probably would hate y'all for that, but you know what? I'm grateful for that because it got me back into human. It got me back into really, like, I wouldn't be on Pulse and I wouldn't have gotten, these bad boys. Like, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. What I found in the wild is what I'd get. Now I'm like pre-ordering shit.
Mm-hmm.
I am thankful for the fact that I have friends that I would any other time not have, and I think that's very special. I think that when we get close to Christmas, we'll commiserate on that as well and get to the new year. But yeah, I'm just thankful for the fact that it's a very weird and odd community that we love fucking plastic. Yes. It's weird. It's molded plastic that we're like fawning over and loving, and soft goods and stuff like that. But I mean, hell, that leads into like deeper conversations that I've had with half of y'all on here. Pancho, I haven't had a deep conversation with you yet, but you know what? That could eventually happen. Trust me.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Getting to crash with Fabio and Travis and our buddy Lance and at Comic-Con, and walking walking a full mile to the con because I'm cheap and I didn't want to pay for an Uber. Like that type of, like, getting to finally meet Cage and going, holy shit, you're fucking tall. Cage is tall, dude. Like, you see him like, oh, okay, so
Yeah, don't think of me as a tall person. Think of me as a very tall person.
So what I'm hearing is KJ's the Gandalf of our AKM. And if that's the case, I'm definitely Bilbo Baggins. When you meet me, I'm obscurely short.
No, he stood up and I'm like, fuck.
That's fair because I got hairy feet.
But Bobby, is it just plastic or is it art?
It's art. It is, and that's one of the things. Like, look, that's one of the things. Like, I'll post them up again. Like, this is art. This is art. Like, it is art. Like, it is artwork. That's why when we see things that are crappy, like, that is not good. But you know what? And here's the thing: we don't always chill, and we're not always negative, but we hold people accountable and feet to the fire because, hey, we love this stuff. When we see it starting to go downhill, we will let you know. And you know why? Because we love this stuff. We don't want to see it go downhill. We don't want to see Spider-Man go from Spider-Man 1 to Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man 3. We're like, look, much like the movie, the toy sucked. And you can see it. But when you have guys who will give us Moon Knight that looks like this, like, come on. We're gonna like praise you as much as we're gonna think, hey, you're slipping.
Yeah.
Look, the next few episodes, Ronny has his Comic-Con interviews. I have my interview with the Houston Toy Museum, which was absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. And my God, it made me feel old when some little girl said they played with that in the 2000s. I'm like, right in the heart. God. She's like, Mommy, did you play with that in the 2000s? Like,
hey, I feel your pain in our Magic episode when Bob was mentioning, oh yeah, I grew up as a kid and I played Magic and I had this card or I knew this card. I'm like, yeah, when you were a kid.
Literally, doing that today. Like when I was in like 4th grade, I'm like 4th grade. Wait, that was
You
way
start turning from Matt Damon into an old dude.
Son of a bitch. All right. This has been episode 100, part 2. We have had a great time. KJ, as always, you're a wonderful host. Thank you so much. Much love to JDF, Andy, Kevin Conroy, Steven, Ronnie, Fabster, Pancho. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. And as always, guys, hey, listen, be nice. It costs nothing to be nice. It costs nothing to lend an ear. You don't have to, there are no text rates anymore. If you have issues, please call someone you love or call 988, text them. For a toy kind of mood, I am Bobby. We will see you in the toy aisle. Peace.
Peace.